Big LEZ'S League, an all rugby league experience.
Hello, welcome back to Big LEZ'S League, an all rugby league experience. Make sure you go ahead and subscribe down below to the YouTube, become a part of the Big LEZ'S League community. We also are on Spotify, Apple Podcast. You'll get exclusive content on there, exclusive content on the TikTok. I haven't been on there too frequently, the TikTok, but we are going to start to really pump that over the next few weeks, and particularly going into the off season. Make sure you follow the TikTok, the Instagram as well. We are growing that Instagram substantially, starting to do some little paid advertisements here and there as well, and starting to push some content, trying to get that following up. So make sure you go ahead and follow Big LEZ'S League. Become a part of the Big LEZ'S League community. Plenty of great content coming over the off-season. Some ex-players coming on the podcast, locked in. We're also going to be talking to some NRL pages as well, like we always do. And then obviously got a friend, a recent friend made another NRL page coming and doing the season reviews with us as well. So plenty of content coming through the off season. Make sure you don't miss out. Subscribe to Big LEZ'S League. Great NRL content just waiting to be seen. Get into it. Subscribe. Become a part of the Big LEZ'S League community. Let's get into this. A friend of ours, Clarkeys Rugby League column, he has put together his Anzac side. He's rolling Anzac side at the moment, and it was a little bit controversial. It caught my eye, just some of the picks that he's chucked in there. Got certain players picked over other players and stuff like that. So I've gone through, I've made some changes to his side. We're going to go through his team, go through each of his picks, and just go through who we would have put in certain positions as well. He's gone 1 to 19. We're just going to go 1 to 17 here for both Australia and New Zealand. You'll see his side on this side of the screen or this side of the screen. Don't know how it works if it flips it, but on one of the sides of the screen, you will see his team. So let's get straight into it. For the Kangaroos team, we'll read through it quickly. He's got KP at fullback. He's got Lomax and Murray Taulagi on the wings. He's got Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow and Bradman Best in the centres. He's got Tom Dearden and Nathan Cleary in the halves. He's got Reuben Cotter and Lindsay Collins in the front row with Reece Robson at 9. Angus Crichton, Liam Martin, back row. Cam Murray, 13, depending on if he does get shoulder surgery or not, or if he's injured during that time. We've got Harry Grant, Isaiah Yeo, Patrick Carrigan, and Jeremiah Nanai, 14, 15, 16, 17. And then DCE and Jake Trbojevic, your 18th and 19th men. Let's go through this thing one by one. KP at fullback is obviously the one that sticks out to me. Obviously not someone that a lot of people would have picked, and a lot of people in the comments are, arguing recency bias. Obviously, he's had some great football played over the past few weeks. He does get a bit of a break before going into this World Club Series as well. People have to start looking at the possible opportunity for those Penrith boys. A lot of those Penrith boys, obviously, there's a wedding on for some of those Penrith boys, and it looks like they're going to drop out for Samoa. We could see a few of these other guys who have been playing in a grand final for the past 4 to 5 years. That's 4 to 5 years since 2019. They've been in grand final after grand final after grand final. It looks like they're going to be in another grand final as well. Their 5th straight grand final, which is just absolutely insane. A lot of these guys might have a break. Dylan Edwards, potentially Cleary as well, pending on that shoulder. All of these guys, they might have a break going into the off season and decide not to play for Australia and pull themselves out of that World Cup. And I think we really have to take that as a genuine possibility that these guys might take a break and just take some extra time off, not go into this World Club Series. So definitely something to think about there for all you fans when putting these sides together. And I think that's sort of what Clarkey's thinking is when picking Callum Ponga at fullback. Dylan Edwards might rule himself out. He is carrying an injury to his knee at the moment. He might not play in this World Club Series. So KP, look, it is a very realistic option there at fullback. Currently, I'd probably still have Tedesco over Callum Ponga, just in terms of who's in front of who. I've got Dylan Edwards written down here. He's carrying that knee injury at the moment for the Penrith Panthers. So it would make sense to obviously not have him in there for the World Cup. He might pull out. He might rest himself. KP's obviously in there for Clarkey. I'd probably go James Tedesco as the next guy up. But for me, if Dylan Edwards is available and he's ready to play for Australia and he's ready to put on that jersey, for me, I think he's earned that jersey. I think that he goes in there, and I think a lot of people would agree. But look, I can see the argument for KP. He's probably the most fit out of all of those guys at the moment. He's playing the best footy right now. Just as I said, you're looking at that recency bias. Right now, he's playing some pretty decent football. I can definitely see why Clarkey would be thinking that Callum Ponga sort of pick. In terms of the wing spots, there are plenty of options here. Obviously, due to injury, again, you're thinking about guys, where are they playing? Are they going to play for Australia? Are they going to play for Samoa? Obviously, with Samoa and the caliber side that they've got this season, a lot of these guys that are dual eligibility, like Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow, Brian To'o, Murray Taulagi, these sort of guys, you'd think that they might consider playing for Samoa, looking at that side that they have, or, placing their eligibility to Samoa first off. And if they don't get picked for that side, then coming over and playing for Australia. But Clarkey's obviously got two of those guys in here, in Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow and Murray Taulagi. In regards to his wingers first, we'll talk about the wingers first, obviously. He has gone for Zach Lomax and Murray Taulagi. For me, at least, and look, this is, thinking along the terms of Murray Taulagi most likely going to get picked for Samoa. Just thinking of the side at the top of my head. Obviously, I could be forgetting someone for sure, but for me, he gets picked there for Samoa, which would mean that for me, at least, the next best guy up for a wing spot would be either Selwyn Cobbo, Dane Gagai, or Valentine Holmes. For me, I'm going to go Valentine Holmes. He's playing some great footy at the moment. He's played on the wing a few times this season as well, and he's been on the wing for Australia for quite a while. He has that experience in that international arena. That's who I would go for. Next guy up for me would probably be Dane Gagai, just in terms of form this season. He's been outstanding. Not on the wing, sure, but in regular season form, he's been great. I feel like he would kill it in that Australian arena, go to another level. He is one of the older guys on the park, but I think that experience would be great to have in the squad as well. And then obviously third place would be Selwyn Cobbo. He's had a lot of dramas towards the back end of the year. It's a sort of thing where I'd sort of see him potentially taking this one off and just resting up, getting his mind right going into next season. Obviously, off-field dramas paired with him getting linked to the Roosters, mental health dramas after Origin as well, or during the Origin period. He was sitting out for a little while there as well. It's been a lot been happening for Selwyn Cobbo over the past year, over the past 6 months in particular. I feel like there is a chance that he sort of rests up, focuses on next year for the Broncos. So Valentine Holmes, Dane Gagai would be the most likely ones for that wing spot. Saying that, obviously, Brian To'o, Murray Taulagi, they're going to be playing for Samoa. In terms of the centres, look, Zach Lomax, we'll just quickly speak on him, on the wing there. I think that Lomax is a great pick. I think I can agree with that after his Origin series. I know he could kill it in that Origin, in this international arena as well. He's probably one of my picks for the wing spots at the moment as well. Very excited and keen to see if anyone pushes back on that or if they have another option there for the wing. In terms of the centres, I have gone a little bit unorthodox. I'm assuming that Bradman Best is injured and he's going to be rehabbing throughout the rest of the off season with that hamstring injury, getting himself 100% right for the preseason. I'm assuming that he is going to be pulling himself out of this World Club series, which would mean that my left centre would be Matt Burton. I think that Matt Burton's played some great footy this year. I think that, obviously not at centre, but being at centre simplifies his role a lot more as well. Just the ability to kick the ball with ease, long distance. He toe taps the ball and it goes 70 metres. It's a great asset to have in your side come last tackle. I'd love to see Matt Burton get selected in this Oz side like he did last year or the year before in this team. Matt Burton would be a great pick for me at centre. For me, I have got an asterisk next to this bloke's name because we just talked about Samoa and the dual eligibility there. But Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow, for me, would be my other one on the right-hand side. Obviously, he has played left and right centre this season, but I think that since you obviously got Matt Burton, who is an out-and-out left centre, and Bradman Best anyway would be an out-and-out left centre, you want a guy that can play both or can at least play right very well. Hamaso Tabuai-Fidow would be my first pick. Second pick would be Katoni Staggs. Third pick would be Selwyn Cobbo. Fourth pick would be Dane Gagai. That's probably the order that I'd have it in right now. If Jack Whiten is fit and available as well, I would definitely consider making that play for Jackie Boy Whiten. But yeah, look, obviously he's retired from rep footy as it stands at the moment, so I doubt that he will be in this side. But yeah, look, a few guys to pick from, not as many as you'd like, but definitely a few guys to pick from there. Obviously, other names that come into the discussion would be Latrell Mitchell, but he's suspended, so he won't be able to play. The next guy would be Tom Trbojevic, but he's injured, so he won't be able to play. So it really does limit your options here in terms of guys you can pick. Matt Burton, Hamaso Tabuai-Fidow would be mine. Anyone I'm forgetting, please let me know in the comments section as well. But as I said, backups would be Katoni Staggs, Selwyn Cobbo, Dane Gagai, and then if he is available, Jack Whiten's obviously automatically in my team as well, if he's available for sure. But Hamaso Tabuai-Fidow is the guy I've got in there pending his eligibility this season if he is going to be playing for Australia or Samoa. Looking at the halves, Cam Munster, Nathan Cleary are mine. He's gone a little bit rogue here, Clarkey. He's gone with Nathan Cleary and Tom Dearden. Very rogue to go Tom Dearden. And obviously there is a little bit of an asterisk next to Nathan Cleary's name with that injury, the shoulder injury. I imagine he's getting a reconstruction and he won't be available for this series. I imagine Penrith would be very adamant that he gets that shoulder reconstruction so that he's available for the following year. A very important year for the Panthers as well. They lose Luai and Fisher Harris, two of arguably their better players or best players behind Nathan Cleary. Losing both of those guys is going to be huge. You want Nathan Cleary fully fit going into that season. He has been injured throughout the past few seasons. He's a guy you want fully fit for the whole 27 rounds, Nathan Cleary. It's something that hasn't really been talked about too in their premiership tender. Obviously, Nathan Cleary has been having a number of injuries, whether it be the hamstring, the shoulder. He had, I think, an ankle or a syndesmosis injury 2 or 3 years ago as well. So he's had a number of injuries since, obviously, Penrith have gone on this run with their premiership. So definitely something that hasn't been talked about for sure in their premiership tender or in their little streak that they're on at the moment. But yeah, look, I think that he definitely need to be 100% fit going into next year. I mean, you look at, as I said, the guys that they're losing in Luai and Fisher Harris. He's getting a new 5'8" there, a guy that he hasn't played throughout the entire lower grades with, which is going to be a huge, huge thing for Nathan Cleary. We've seen glimpses of him playing with other halves, obviously in international arenas, origin arenas, and obviously at Clubland when Luai has been out. But this will be the first real time for a full year that he has to play without Jerome Luai as well. It's a massive year. You want Nathan Cleary pretty much throughout the whole preseason getting used to combinations with Blaze Talangi. I think that Nathan Cleary will pull himself out of this World Cup, which leaves one guy because Moses is obviously out rehabbing that bicep as well for the rest of the year. Leaves one dude, and that is DCE. So for me, DCE will get that tap on the shoulder as the number 7. It will probably be his last ride, Fast and Furious last ride there in the number 7 for Australia too, which will be very, nostalgic too. DCE obviously had a great career, probably a very underrated career. He's won premierships. He's played plenty of Origin series. He's dominated in the Origin arena over guys like Nathan Cleary as well. Definitely a very underrated career and an underrated player at DCE is. I really do think that he will go extremely well in this last ride. Very nostalgic. I think he does get the tap on the shoulder here. I think Nathan Cleary, Mitch Moses, they're going to rehab their injuries. They're not going to be available. DC is that guy that's going to get the number 7 jersey. As I said, Clarkeys got Tom Dearden, which is very controversial. Look, Tom Dearden had a outstanding Origin, 3 games with Cam Munster out with injury for most of that season. Do I think that Tom Dearden should be picked based on the fact that he's played more in-season games than Cameron Munster? Not at all. Look at the footy that Cameron Munster has been playing and look at the footy that he's going to play in the last 2 weeks of this competition of this year. Because obviously Melbourne will get into the grand final. If they don't, it'll be the biggest upset that we've ever seen in finals. yeah, Munster, he's been a big part, especially over the past few weeks, the footy that they've been playing. He just seems to get better and better every single week. For me, I think that Cam Munster is a shoo-in for this World Club Challenge. I think that we do see Tom Dearden miss out entirely, to be honest. And look, it's a little bit harsh. Obviously, if we're including in our sides the 18th and 19th man, he's probably in there for sure. But in regards to my 17, he misses out at least for the first game there. So my halves are DCE and Cameron Munster, that Queensland Origin combination. Looking at my front row pairing, I've gone a little bit different to what the Clarkey has gone for here. Clarkey's gone for Lindsay Collins and Ruben Cotter. I am going for Jake Trbojevic and Ruben Cotter. I tried to fit Ruben Cotter in another position, but just with how my team is shaped, I just cannot fit him in to another position other than starting front row. Sure, throughout the game, I think that he can move into the back row or into other positions, but I think that he starts in the front row, start off with a little bit of leg speed and just defend. Cotter is a great defender as well. So you're just getting a really solid defensive unit to start the game, paired with the 13, who I think is very obvious. And obviously, it's Clark. He hasn't got him at 13, actually. So we differ in that sort of rotation. But for me, in terms of my front rowers, it's Jake Trbojevic, it's Ruben Cotter, strong in defense, tough carries, just starting off the game very well against the New Zealand pack. Reece Robson is at 9. I think that he's taken that jersey well and truly now. He has been outstanding in the Origin arena over the past 2 years, particularly this series. It really laid a platform for him. So for me, Reece Robson is that number 9. And I think that he will play some pretty decent minutes as well. We may see a very similar rotation to what we see for Queensland. With obviously the one hooker 1-2 punch where the hooker on the bench will come in and play that roaming lock sort of role and then go into hooker. Starting hooker will go to the bench or, go to that roaming lock forward role. That sort of 1-2 punch that Queensland like to do. So Reece Robinson's, long story short, Reece Robinson, he is the 9. Back rowers for me, I am going with Angus Crichton and Liam Martin. I think that's the most obvious choice. It's Clarkey's choice as well. I don't think that needs to be explained too much. Both of these guys are the best back rowers in the competition at the moment. Isaiah Yeo's my 13. Clarkey's gone for Cam Murray. Cam Murray, I don't know whether he's going to be available. There's a little asterisk next to his name as well. Obviously, battling with an injury, coming back with that injury as well and playing injured as well. Cam Murray, he might be a guy that gets some surgery as well during this off season on that shoulder. He obviously did it last year. He might need another one. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, definitely an asterisk next to his name. I think if he does get picked, Cameron Murray, for me, he plays a little bit of a different role to what Clarkey has got him in. I think we've learnt a lesson of Cameron Murray coming off the bench. But for me, I just feel like we need that leg speed off the bench. Particularly with how I've built my side, I just want a little bit of leg speed there, quick play the balls. And look, to be honest, if Cam Murray isn't that guy, I probably have a little bit of a controversial take there as well. But let's get through the rest of my team first. So my 1 to 17 is Dylan Edwards at fullback, Lomax and Val Holmes on the wings, Burton and Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow in the centres. Munster and DCE in the halves. I've got Jake Trbojevic and Ruben Cotter front row, Reece Robson 9, Angus Crichton, Liam Martin back row, Isaiah Yeo 13. And then my bench, it is Harry Grant, Cam Murray / Connor Watson, Lindsay Collins and Patrick Carrigan. Collins and Carrigan off the bench is just going to be absolutely insane. It's going to be off its head. These guys are going to go absolutely AWOL. And I think that they're really going to challenge these front rowers for New Zealand as well. Cam Murray, as I said, leg speed there, quick play the balls, link man through the middle, can move Isaiah Yeo into the front row as well and just get him to play that running role. Which, to be honest, if we're putting this side together, we could even start Connor Watson or Cam Murray at 13, move Yoey into the front row and move Ruben Cotter to the bench as well if you want to shape your side up like that, which now that I'm thinking about it, looks very attractive. But I'm going to stick with what I've got here. Harry Grant, Cam Murray, Lindsay Collins, Patrick Carrigan on the bench. and that's Cam Murray / Connor Watson there as well in jersey number 15 as a bit of an unorthodox pick that will come on and play lock. And if there's an injury to the hooker position, he can fill in there as well. If there's an injury to any position, really, he can fill in. So I think it's valuable having that guy on the bench. Let's talk about the New Zealand side. So Clarkeys' team, 1-17, or 1-19, I should say, is Keano Kinney at fullback, Ronaldo Mulatalo and Will Warbrick on the wings, Chance, Nickel Clockstad and Matsimoko in the centres, Tamale Martin and Jerome Hughes in the halves. He's got Moses Leota and James Fisher-Harris in the front row with Jeremy Marshall-King at 9. He has got Isaiah Papali'i and Britton Nicola in the back row, Joey Tarpanay at 13. He has got Kieran Foran, Leo Thompson with an asterisk, Nelson Asofa Solomona, Scott Sorensen with an asterisk, and then the 18th and 19th man is Cody Nikarima and Nafa'u White. Let's have a look at his team and compare it to mine. So fullback is obviously the one that's going to stand out to everyone. Keano Kinney at fullback. Is it too early to make this move? Now, they've lost not only RTS's eligibility coming back into the NRL as he's going to be playing for Samoa, but they've lost Manu as well. And Manu's been a key part as to why they were so successful and why they won 30-0 in that last World Club Challenge. For me, he's going to be a massive loss in this team going into this Anzac Challenge. I think that, what Manu can do on the field, the number of positions he can play for your football side, his ball playing, the way that he runs the ball, what he does in the international arena. 300 or so meters, breaking meterage records in the last World Cup as well. Very, very tough guy to lose for New Zealand. But Keano Kinney, what we've seen from him this season, the football that he's played, is it too early to really jump the gun and go for Keano Kinney? I feel like there could be a risk taken there. And look, new coach, new ideas as to how this side should be run. Maybe Keano Kinney does get that spot. For me, I'm a little bit hesitant. I think that he could be in the squad. If I was to name a 19-man squad like Clarkeys done here, I'd definitely include Keano Kinney in the squad in case there's injury. But for me, I've gone with a little bit of a different controversial pick, and it's in another position. So my starting fullback is Chance Nickel Clockstad. My controversial pick comes in the centres, and we'll go through that in a second. But yeah, I would go with Chance at fullback. Just the work that he gets through there at number 1. I think it's too valuable to forego and move him into the centres, especially when you're losing a guy like Manu. In terms of the wingers, Will Warbrick and Ronaldo Mulatalo are the wingers there for Clarkey. They're the wingers there for me as well. Ronaldo and Will Warbrick are two of the hardest working wingers in the competition. What Will Warbrick's been able to do 2 years ago is playing in the Olympics for New Zealand, or playing in the World Cup Rugby Sevens for New Zealand. Obviously coming over to the NRL, getting used to those defensive combinations. It's only this year where we've really started to see him peak. And even towards the back end of this season, where we've really started to see him peak, Will Warbrick has had a really strong end to the year and definitely deserves that jersey. And I've heard a lot of people saying the same thing about him as well, that he does deserve that jersey, Will Warbrick. So he comes into the side for me. Ronaldo Mulatalo is the other winger. That means that Dallin Watene-Zelezniak misses out. His try-scoring form has gone down a little bit, obviously towards the back end of the year. It also means that last year's winger in Jermaine Asako will miss out as well, which is, again, a bit of a controversial pick there. But Will Warbrick, I think, has deserved that jersey. He's been in the best form out of all of those wingers as well. So for me, Will Warbrick and Ronaldo Mulatalo would be the obvious choice. Now, one of Clarkey's centres, as you can see, is Matsimoko. I've gone with Matsimoko as my right centre. This left centre for me has impressed me out of sight since coming into this Melbourne side. He's solidified a spot in what could be a grand final team as well. I think that this guy deserves a spot off the back of his back end of season performance since going into the centres there for the Melbourne Storm. I think a few people know who I'm talking about. I think that a lot of people, it sort of flew over their heads that this guy got picked as well in the under-19s or the younger or under-20s. I think it might have even been Kiwi side, the B side there for the Kiwis. But Jack Howarth is my other centre there at left centre. That means that my left side would be Jack Howarth and Ronaldo Mulatalo. Mulatalo loves to strike center inside him too at left center, so I think that works really nicely. And then the right side would be Matsumoko and Will Warbrick. I think those combinations would be absolutely insane. Howarth, he's got such a strong running game. They've gone for a back rower type build centre before for New Zealand. You think back 2 or 3 years ago now, 2022, 2023, 2022, 2021. They had Murata Niokore in the centres there for New Zealand. They've come a long way since then, but I think Jack Howarth is definitely the guy for me that should get a spot in this team. I think that it's been really unfortunate as well to see some of these other under 20s or B-side Kiwis and what's happened. Obviously, very unfortunate to see what's happened to Rocco Berry. Started the year very strongly, obviously then came out of this side due to injury for the Warriors and hasn't really played first grade since. I don't know if he's still injured, if he had a season-ending injury there. But unfortunately, due to that injury, it's sort of flown over their heads that this guy would have been in contention. But very unfortunate to see Rocco Berry miss out. Obviously, if he'd kept that start of year form throughout the entire season without injury, he'd definitely be a guy we'd be talking about, in my opinion. But Jack Howarth, for me, he's the guy that's going to go in there. Jack Howarth, Matsumoko are my centers. Let me know what your thoughts are on that one. Is it a bit of a rogue call for me? Whose call is more rogue? Keanu Kinney at fullback or Jack Howarth in the centers? Let me know. In terms of my halves, I thought that there would be another guy to come in for Tamale Martin. I had a real deep dive going through most of the sides from this year, from 2023, right back to 2021, 2020, and all of those World Cups, and just seeing who the Sixers were for those. A few guys that come to mind would be Kieran Foran, but he's somewhere else in my team and in Clarkeys' team as well. Cody Nikorima is obviously the 18th man for Clarkey. He would have been another guy that would have been eligible. And as well, a little bit of conversation that's started to happen too this week in particular. It looks like Isaiah Katoa has declined to go and play, or at least put his eligibility forward for New Zealand. So really tough call there from Isaiah Katoa. But I love it as a New South Wales fan because it means that he'll be pledging his eligibility most likely to Tonga and then potentially down the line to New South Wales as well. Love it as a New South Wales fan, but for New Zealand, ouch. Definitely would have been a great replacement for Dylan Brown, who's obviously going to be sitting this World Cup out with that ACL rupture, only partly ruptured, so he will be back, I believe, by the start of the preseason, or at least halfway through the preseason there for Parramatta. But definitely a big loss for this World Club Series. His number 6 is Tamale Martin. I agree. I think that Tamale Martin has showed that he's played, he showed that he can play that role well in the number 6. He showed, that he is probably the best option for that jersey right now, in my opinion. Unless you want to go with the veteran in Kieran Foran in the number 6, I'd probably go with Tamale Martin, a bit of a younger guy, a bit more X factor you're going to get out of him. And then next to this guy, I don't think it would really matter, but Jerome Hughes, definitely in this spot. Don't need to explain it. He's been the best player in the competition in 2024. He will be the Dally M Player of the Year. Knock on wood. If it's not, he's rigged. If it's not, the Dally M system is rigged if he doesn't get picked in there. But Jerome Hughes, best player in the competition this season. I think that he definitely gets picked in that number 7 jersey for New Zealand. Front rowers, don't need to go through this too much. We've both got Moses Leota and James Fisher-Harris. We've both got Tarpanay at 13. It is so obvious that is going to be the 1, 10, and 6, unless one of these guys is on the bench. All of these guys will be there. Moses Leota and Fisher-Harris is the best front row combo we've ever seen in rugby league. Tarpanay has just been outstanding for the past few years now. His peak has just been so underrated. We're so used to seeing this guy performing at 110%. That we just really don't give it as much credit as it deserves. Joey Tarpanay, we were speaking about it in the reviews. I was just touching on it in general on the podcast, how he doesn't get enough credit for the work that he does, Joey Tarpanay, because we just are used to it now in the competition. But yeah, Joey Tarpanay 13, Fisher-Harris Leota in 8 and 10. It makes sense. It's the most obvious option. I don't need to go through it anymore. Number 9, Jeremy Marshall-King, if fully fit, obviously ended the year at 14 for the Dolphins, just coming back from an injury. it's definitely going to be one to have a look at. Obviously, Brandon Smith's done his ACL, so he won't be there, and he won't be available for the Roosters, I believe, for the first few rounds of the competition, depending on the length of that ACL rehab. Also, he's going to miss the whole preseason for the Roosters, which is going to be massive. Talking specifically, cannot speak English today, about this New Zealand side, Jeremy Marshall-King's the best answer. The next best guy they've got available would be Cody Nikorima for that 9, just to have a bit more of a sparky 9 to start the game. Or if you want to, you go for that tough guy in Kieran Foran at 9, like they have done last year, and you have Cody Nikorima at 14, which I think if Marshall-King is just going to recover from that injury throughout the preseason, I think that it'd be a good idea to go Kieran Foran with Cody Nikorima as your 14. But for me, Jeremy Marshall-King, he's my 9. He's Clarkeys' 9 at the moment. I think it makes sense if he's fully fit, of course. In terms of the back rowers, Clarkey has gone with Isaiah Papali'i and Britton Nicola. I have really enjoyed what I've seen through the middle of the field from Isaiah Papali'i, to the extent that I've gone for a bit of a controversial starting back rower here in that left back row spot. So my right back rower is Britton Nicola. He's probably been one of the better back rowers in the competition and probably one of the more underrated ones as well. I think he's slowly started to get his recognition off the back of some great form towards the back end of this season. He's definitely there for me. I think my left back rower, at least to start the game, I reckon for the first 20 minutes, and then he moves into the middle, depending on how you want to work the rotation with the 8, 10, and 13. It is Nelson Asofa-Solomona. I've really enjoyed the games that I've seen from him on an edge. He runs great lines. Yes, it's been more so on the right side of the park, but you could easily play him on the left. I think he'd do an equally as good of a job. Obviously, the X line that he was going to run for Cameron Munster before he scored that try for Melbourne on the weekend, he was playing on the left-hand side at that stage, so he can play left pretty easily. I think that we will see Nelson in the back row, and Isaiah Papali'i, for me at least, coming off the bench as a middle, as a 13 for Joey Tarpanay. Joey Tarpanay can then move into the front row, depending on how you want to work this rotation, as I said, and you get a bit of a smaller mobile 13 coming off the bench as well in Isaiah Papali'i, which is pretty uncommon for the way that the New Zealand side likes to play, the tough footy through the middle. It does add a little bit of a sparky, very different style of play to what is a very tough, gritty side through the middle of the park. Adding that spark and footwork and obviously ruck speed there in Isaiah Papali'i coming off the bench, that smaller body, the more mobile body, it would change up their style of play a little bit. In regards to the rest of their bench, Kieran Foran at 14 at the moment, I agree with. I've got Leo Thompson on my bench, which I agree with. I've got Scotty Sorensen on my bench, which I agree with. The only change I've made is that Nelson starts in the back row and Isaiah Papali'i comes off the bench. So my bench is Kieran Foran, Isaiah Papali'i, Leo Thompson, and Scotty Sorensen. It's a nice, well-rounded out bench. Isaiah Papali'i is a middle on my bench as well. You could either move Tarpanay or Nelson into the front row at any stage as well to sort of fix out how that rotation works if you're considering Papali'i and Scott Sorensen as 2 back rowers. But yeah, I think that this works out nicely. I like the rotation and how my side looks for New Zealand. Just to run through 1 to 17, New Zealand again for myself. It is Chance, Nickel Clockstart at fullback, Ronaldo Mulatalo and Will Warbrick on the wings, Jack Howarth and Matsumoko in the centres. I've got Tomato Martin and Jerome Hughes in the halves, James Fisher-Harris and Moses Leota in the front row, Jeremy Marshall-King at 9. I have got Nelson, Asofa-Solomona and Britton Nicola in the back row with Joey Tarpanay at 13. Kieran Foran, Isaiah Papali'i, Leo Thompson, Scott Sorensen on the bench. There you go, guys. That is your little reaction to Clarkey's post there. We obviously are going to do some work potentially with Clarkey during the off-season. Shush. Not giving too much away there. But thanking Clarkey for letting us react to this post. He posts some great content on that page. If you don't follow him, he is literally the OG of footy pages. So make sure you go ahead and give him a follow. He posts some really great content and content that I wouldn't even think of posting as well. He comes up with some great concepts. He's doing great things. There's no wonder that he's probably one of the most followed rugby league pages out there. And as I said, he's the OG. So make sure you go ahead and give him a follow. But yeah, we might react to a few more of his things and sides going into the off season as well. As I said, he posts some great content, so definitely looking forward to reacting to some news that he breaks as well on his podcast and stuff like that. We'll definitely try and do some more work with him during the off season, and there might be something in the works for the off season with myself and Clarkey coming up. But as I said, not giving too much away. But yeah, let me know what you think about my sides that I've named as well off the back of this little reaction, and what you would change from Clarkey's team as well going into this World Club Series.